Okay, that was convenient.
7K Dreamer, please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be checking out Mythical Awakened Gerard in his level 44 review video because I only managed to get 2 copies and I'm only intending to get 2 copies of him until all the free copies come. So before we look at that dev team which I was trying out, we are actually gonna use him in a very standard offensive team. Now, in the offensive team, he is able to get that special passive that he has, which is to increase the defense of all allies by 2000. So this actually balances out with enemy Dylans reducing your defense by 2000. And I think that just brings everything back to baseline. Nothing too spectacular unless, you know, one day Dylans is out of the meta, then I think Gerard's 2000 will come in very, very good. However, because there are so many skills that actually have defense offset, whereby the more defense you have, the stronger the enemy can deal damage to you. Sometimes having that defense increase, well, I don't know if it's a really good thing, so it can go either way. But in this offensive team, he really has only that passive role to play because I'm not using his skills for death at all. If you see, my team has no death support, no CC support in fact, and I replaced Phi for him to test him out because he's an offensive hero. And yeah, basically that's it. For his skill set, in terms of his offensive teammates, okay, I really don't feel that he contributes much because in terms of his skill set, if you take away all the death, or if you face a Galidus enemy, he pretty much doesn't do much damage. Especially his bottom skill, the one that deals damage based on enemies' HP, that is just really poor in terms of damage output. I don't even know why. And yeah, this one. Okay, unfortunately, okay, he did have a chain attack, which is very rare in fact. Usually he won't kill anyone with that. As you saw, the second attack only dealt 57,000. Okay, so it's very low in terms of damage, especially from an offensive hero. I don't know why that he doesn't have actual physical damage multiplier, because I think that would make him so much better. And he also has a 50% chance to proc death debuff with that skill, but unfortunately it never happens. Okay. First things first, he does not have status effect cast rate increases, okay, and this team doesn't support that as well. This team, you know, with Freya, she may reduce status effect resist rate, but beyond that, there's nothing much there. So his 50% death debuff just doesn't happen, especially if the enemy has increased resistance, then you can just forget about it altogether. So I feel that in an offensive team, he's really just there for defense increase. He himself isn't extremely bulky, even though he does take reduced magic damage, but right now all the enemies I'm facing barely have any magic units. Maybe just 1 or 2 Yonhis I see on the way, but really mostly are physical units right now. Maybe the meta hasn't changed, I'm not too sure, but so far all seems to be the same team. And maybe just Wukong, he takes less damage from Wukong, but then again Wukong hits pretty hard. So another thing that you need to look out for, actually he does have another use, I forgot. It is the reduction in crit rate of all enemies by 40%. Now this one is slightly more obvious. Now if you just observe, the Yonhi just countered without a crit. This Agnes Spear coming through, we're gonna take a look at what it does. There are some crits unfortunately, so this Phi could be very highly built in crit. That's one thing. You know, it's very easy for a unit to reach 80% crit now with the jewel, with very good weapons, all that, and even with accessories. Okay, so 40%, you know, for those units may not be anything significant, but for normal units where people just give like double crit weapons and nothing else, 40% basically reduces all the crit that they have. Like in this case, see, the Wukong did not land any crits at all. So it can actually make a difference in terms of damage you take, and you know, maybe that can help to mitigate some damage and make the offensive team even bulkier. That's one thing. I did very well actually, because I used this team after testing the dev team for a whole 2 hours, okay? I tried so hard to test the dev team with him for 2 hours, and then I was not progressing at all. However, with this team, I had like 4 straight wins, which never happened with the death team. Okay, even here, okay, look at this Gerard, this enemy Gerard. He's supposed to land the death, didn't land, didn't crit as well. So I think that skill is pretty weird, pretty bad. And with that, we're gonna transition into the death team itself. So this death team comprises of Yeonhee, Tara. Yeonhee also has death on her basic attack. Tara is here to buff Yeonhee's status effect cast rate. And then I have 4 universal heroes with Eileen being the one that decreases status effect resist rate of the enemies, and I have Nox here to decrease status death resist rate, I'm sorry. So here my Gerard is actually pretty active. His strong trait is, of course, his strongest skill I think is his Awaken skill. It deals pretty good fixed damage, okay, but here he kills off the Wukong with the death. Just take note that for Gerard, he does have 100% chance to land death with his effect attack if the enemy has no resistance against it. And if he applied the death resist drop by himself with his top skill, I believe, before that, then it's even better. So for my Gerard, he's actually geared on speed and HP, however I gave him the 100% guarantee counter accessory so that he's able to counter hits pretty well. Unfortunately, even with speed and an effect attack increased duo, I don't find that his effect attack procs a lot. He has about 65% chance to proc effect attacks. Unfortunately, it just doesn't come through too often. In fact, sometimes I think my Nox actually does more work than him, which is pretty ironic. But nonetheless, these are his equipment. For his jewels, I've given him effect attack, yes, as I mentioned, survive on 1 HP, and also increase awakening gauge. The speed aspect comes as a substat for the Myth Jewel. And then for his traits, I've given him 3 different resistances: Paralyze, Electrify, and Silence. Now you realize that in this particular team, I actually lack a lot of immunity heroes, okay? And as you see, I lost the match. But you saw that actually things were going pretty well. So there were so many cases whereby, you know, this actually happened. And it's very unfortunate, because I always felt like things were going well. I land all the deaths in the world I can. And after I land the first round of deaths, nothing happens. And here he's gonna use the top skill, which reduces death resist rate by 60%, which is very good as a prelude to his Awaken skill, because his Awaken skill is very, very strong. Here he counters, lands the death. So I think in this particular match, everything synergizes very well and everything flows very well. So here, yeah, he killed the Wukong with the Awaken skill, but it was on death, okay, not with the damage dealt. So that is the kind of situation where I really like to see from Gerard, and unfortunately this bottom skill didn't even do much, didn't even land the death, despite the very buffed status effect cast rate and resist rate down. Sometimes it just doesn't happen, and Nox, yes, Nox did more work than him here. I think he double killed someone, I'm not sure. But you know, honestly, as I was saying, I think sometimes things were going very well. Things always go very well up to a certain point in the match where I feel that the death team just cannot keep up. Maybe it's the way I geared my heroes, maybe it's this particular team, I'm not too sure. But as you can see here, the enemy fight is not even in Immortal stage. So sometimes I wish I had brought the new Rin remake, which I will talk about in another video, but yeah. And then you have Nox that uses this useless skill that decreases magic attack when there are no magic attack heroes on the field. So that is a complete waste of a skill. So there are many cases and many situations with the death team, and you realize that I don't have the immunity heroes as well. So sometimes I get heavily CC'd, and it's very hard for me to come back from that, because once they bring down my team, the death units are all gone, then I really find it very hard. And I don't know how my Tara is fighting a Fire and still living through it. Fire versus water, literally. So who's gonna prevail? I'm glad she cleansed the Agnes Flame though. And water prevails. So yeah, in the case of the death team, there's really more to talk about Gerard, because after all, he is the, you know, yeah, he did it again here. Killed off the Truth in the first turn, right in the opening. I think these are some of the situations where he really shines. But please take note that out of the 2 hours. Matches like these really don't come by that often, like maybe 1 in 5 matches, and along the way I was just losing a lot. I'm trying to really put out a video that showcases that what he can do, and in most cases he doesn't do much. Even with his skill set, his death skill set. And you realize that in this case he doesn't have 4 offensive allies on the field with him, so my defense is actually not higher. He's not increasing the defense at all. Okay, this is the awaken skill. Again, manages to kill off some people. Like I said, the awaken skill is pretty strong. I am quite happy with that, and also because he does have an 80% chance to land death, so that's pretty high. So the thing is, he's only at level 44, right? So I'm thinking if he's at level 50 and you can actually give him the status cast rate increase fighter soul, that will be so much better for him, and I'm really keen to test him out again after I've gotten him to level 50. And also maybe come out with a better team. He'll be definitely bulkier and stronger, I hope, and maybe that could change some things, because I think right now he's lacking in that status cast rate aspect, and he's already gone anyway. So right now I'm really relying on my Yonhee. My Yonhee here is actually geared with crit and lethal because I'm not using Fenrir here. In fact, I think one of the things that this team lacks is the damage. Because I'm not using Fenrir, I'm really just relying on really pretty low percentages of crit and lethal to get by, and hoping that the death happens. In this case, I was very lucky. I told you my Nox, he actually lives very long. I'm pretty surprised. He outlasts a lot of my other heroes. Maybe because they don't target him, or maybe because I gave him the height, but yeah, it's pretty good. And even without increased awakening gauge, or even without being a speed leader or taunter, he actually gets his awaken skill up at a very good timing. As you saw previously, he killed off the Judas. So yeah, this is the useless skill. You look at the heroes that he targeted, probably just Wukong. So overall, I think with Gerard, if you really want to use him as you get him, I think he deserves a team that is built around him, such that, you know, if you're going for a death concept, I think you need to build heroes that can support that, rather than, you know, just throw him into a CC team and expect him to work. I don't think it's that easy, because his percentage, especially on this skill, is insanely low. I don't even know if you'll no deaths there. Yeah, so that's his problem, and I think he will only be better at level 50, which is okay because after all he's a free unit, so that's good. And beyond that, I think in terms of bulk, he's not that bulky, but he does help your there you go. Very strong awaken skill. In terms of bulk, he's not very bulky, but you know, he does help your team get a little bit bulkier, especially for the offensive team. But I'm really keen to see how the Magic team actually can counter everything that the offensive team can offer, and I think we will definitely be checking that out in the next video, so do stay tuned for it. And unfortunately I lost. As I told you, everything was going well, everything looked like it was going well, and then always up to the last point I am either not having enough damage, or you know, things just RNG just screws me over. Yeah, so if you did find this video helpful, do give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned for more arena videos. Thank you so much, and see you!